A few months had passed since the clash between Beerus, the god of destruction, and our newly discovered Super Saiyan God, Goku. After the battle, both Goku and Vegeta had desire to get stronger, now that they were made aware of the existence of even more powerful opponents. Thus, they requested to be trained by Whis, who agreed, well, only if they supplied human delicacies. However, the youngest Saiyans had unfinished business too. The two hybrids were disappointed in themselves, and, like their father, needed to get stronger. Whis had arrived, ready to take Goku and Vegeta to Beerus' planet. But before they could leave, Goten pushed Trunks forward, wanting him to ask the deity's attendant if it was possible for them to tag along. Whis laughed in amusement, before looking towards Goku and Vegeta. He then told the pair it didn't sound like a bad idea, and asked for their opinion on the matter. Goku responded with his signature grin. "That sounds great! I'm glad you're as excited about training as I am, Goten." Vegeta nodded and agreed as well, then made an offhand comment about how it's about time the two took their training seriously, and that he should probably be thanking Beerus for spanking them both. The two children pouted at Vegeta's remark.
No fair. I still can't believe we were defeated so easily. Us, the mighty Gotenks. Well, he is a god after all.
Before grinning at their fathers. Then, back at each other. More than anything, they were happy to be training alongside their dads again. Vegeta scoffed, before announcing that if anyone's going to get that form next, it would be him. Goku smirked back at the response, saying that he looks forward to it, and that their spars will soon follow. Chi-Chi and Bulma were against the idea. No mother in their right mind would allow their children to train on some alien world with a literal destroyer god. But Goku had received a lot of money from Mr. Satan, as well as made profit from his farm, so Chi-Chi was more negotiable than usual.
Please, Mom. I've been working hard on my studies and I don't want to get beaten as easily as I did before. Me too.
Vegeta agreed that the kids had a point and looked towards Goku, who nodded back. We do need to make sure the next generation is ready. We're not always going to be here after all. Chi-Chi and Bulma sighed, then smiled lightly at their husbands, before saying, alright. Once again, the children smiled and jumped in excitement upon hearing this. It's gonna be weird for Chi-Chi not to have Goten around for a while, but she knew Gohan got to experience some one-on-one training with his father like this. It'll be good for them. And Goten had been doing better in his studies than usual, so he deserved a break. Bulma, similarly, was happy Vegeta was actively wanting to spend time with his son. Sure, it was training, but it's better than nothing. Whis approached the group, smiling pleasantly, insisting that they depart. Chi-Chi and Bulma held their boys tight in a hug, embracing them in the process and shedding a few tears. Their husbands then received the same treatment and a stern look from both mothers, which said they better keep them safe on this foreign planet. After the sweet send-off, our group stood by Whis, and a white beam surrounded them, taking them to their new destination, the god of destruction's personal planet. Said deity was probably napping back there. He was aware of Whis bringing the two adult Saiyans, but he hadn't heard anything about the offspring. But we'll get to that encounter later. 30 minutes had passed and the group arrived on the planet. The kids and Goku looked around with childlike curiosity, admitting the unique aesthetic of the planet, as well as several planets surrounding them. As expected, they all began training as soon as possible. A few weeks of training passed, and the group had made considerable progress in ki control. Goku was now able to tap into his Super Saiyan God form at will, thanks to this training. Vegeta, however, was not far behind, due to how gifted the prince is. So it was only natural that he found this training to be pretty straightforward. Only days after Goku tapped into his power, Vegeta also accomplished the same legendary feat. The prince turned to Goku with a slight grin, reiterating that he knew he didn't need any ritual to achieve godhood. Goku turned to face him with an equally smug grin and agreed, but then added that at least now, they'll be able to spar fairly. Vegeta remained silent, then motioned to them to leave the area so they could spar away from Whis and the kids.
I hope we get to that level soon. Well, if you keep thinking like that, then it'll be never.
Whis had only spent a few weeks with the kids, but he could already tell that both of them took after their parents. Trunks was pretty tense, while Goten, on the other hand, was relaxed most of the time. In order to achieve Super Saiyan God, you have to not only have good ki control, but be able to remain calm as well, as opposed to Super Saiyan, which was initially activated by rage. Training continued for a couple of weeks, until finally a brilliant red aura surrounded Goten. Trunks looked in awe at his best friend, who had finally ascended into a realm of gods.
Whoa! Did I? You did it!
They described this feeling as what they did with Gotenks when they saw Super Saiyan 3 for the first time and copied it. After feeling the immense heat that Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue gave out, they more or less figured out a path towards it, and thanks to the training with Whis, they were able to achieve it. Whis was taken by surprise, but at the same time, he had anticipated that the younger two would find this transformation more natural to tap into due to their inherent nature, much like they did with Super Saiyan. Goten looked at his body before exclaiming how he felt much lighter than usual. He knew it made you more lean from Vegeta's and his father's appearance, but it was completely different to experience this power for yourself. He felt calm, at ease, relaxed, but at the same time, he could feel this enormous power from within himself. Goku felt nothing but pride towards his son and ruffled the young boy's hair, accompanied by his signature grin and laugh. Trunks felt a little jealous towards his friend, but he knew he'd be able to achieve it soon. It was only a matter of time. Meanwhile, as Whis continued to train the 4 Saiyans, Lord Beerus woke up from his nap. It was Goten's recent transformation that caused it. While he didn't want to challenge the child in battle, he was extremely curious about the development of the 2 new kids. To be able to reach a transformation that allows you to control and wield God Ki at such a young age was certainly not an easy feat. As expected, Trunks also underwent the same transformation only a few days later. The fiery aura surrounded him, just like it did with Goten. He only had a few minutes to appreciate this new power-up and receive praise from his father before Beerus showed up in front of them all. His gaze wandered from Goku and Vegeta to the 2 boys and smirked. Goten powered up as well to match his best friend, then looked towards Beerus curiously.
Is something wrong?
The deity smiled, looking at Whis, inquiring if it's really necessary to teach children how to become gods. The attendant laughed, then said that the 2 of them wouldn't take no as an answer when he was bringing Goku and Vegeta. Like Whis had previously been, Beerus was more surprised than anything. It was unprecedented that a mere child could achieve Super Saiyan, let alone Super Saiyan God, especially with this much ease. Beerus sighed, then returned back to his quarters. To say he wasn't interested in the Saiyans would be a lie. While they're on his planet, he'll check in with them and their progress once in a while. Goku, Vegeta, Goten and Trunks continued to train with Whis for a few months. Chi-Chi and Bulma had some occasional visits, with some food from Earth, of course. Even Gohan, Videl, and the newborn Pan visited as well, with Beerus jokingly asking if Whis is gonna teach the baby how to become a god as well. Despite Beerus' protests about how mortals shouldn't be allowed to step foot onto such a sacred realm, when offered some fruit sorbet, he became rather easy to persuade. Naturally, they all became closer, but the kids took a special liking to Beerus. At first, it was simply because he was this super awesome, powerful big cat, Goten's words. But after time went on, he became something of an uncle to Trunks and Goten, and he even gave them some advice. Everything was going well for our heroes. However, while they were busy following events off-planet, some remnants of Frieza's force had made a quick visit to Earth. Sorbet, the former staff officer of Frieza's force, was the one to make the trip. He and his men gathered the 7 magic Dragon Balls and revived the evil Emperor. He was brought back in pieces, thanks to future Trunks, but still brought back from the dead. Nonetheless, he was placed in a healing chamber and soon brought back to his former glory. None of our heroes knew anything about this. Goku and the other 3 were not only far away from Earth, Sorbet's power was so insignificant that none of them felt it. However, Frieza wasn't stupid, and he knew that Goku and the others would have improved since the last time he saw them. So instead of rushing in and taking his revenge, he was going to train first. This was going to be the first time in his life he would train. Who knows how much potential he really has. Frieza, now more powerful than ever thanks to his training, had not forgotten how he met his end. First was Goku, then that other Saiyan he met upon arriving on Earth. He swore to take revenge on both of them. Vegeta too, since apparently he had changed and joined forces with Goku. Meanwhile, Goku, Vegeta, Goten and Trunks continue their training at Beerus' planet for the next few months, honing and mastering their Super Saiyan God transformation to perfection, and maybe some other skills. These months pass by relatively quickly, and we find ourselves back on planet Earth with a very panicked galactic patrolman. Jacko had traveled all the way to planet Earth to warn Bulma about Frieza's arrival. In response, Bulma tried to contact Whis and the others with the promise of ice cream, but to no avail. Instead, she contacts all the other Sea Fighters and informs them of the unfortunate news, and they assemble in preparation for the Emperor's arrival. The team is comprised of Gohan, Piccolo, Tien, Roshi, and even Jacko and Krillin. Back on Beerus' planet, they are still blissfully unaware of the imminent threat that arrived on Earth. The young hybrid grinned as he powered down. Trunks smirked, and they talked about how they are still able to keep up with the adults, despite being mere kids.
I can't believe how far we've come, Goten. What's that?
He pointed towards Whis' staff, which was laid on the ground, making a now very irritating beeping sound and a faint pulsating glow. Goten walked towards it and picked it up, looking intently at it, not really sure how to make it work. Trunks took it from him, messed around with it before accidentally making the message from his mother play. The boys ran towards the angel, who was giving Vegeta some tips and informed them of the news. Goku and Vegeta were instantly alarmed, and within seconds prepared to leave for their home. Beerus overheard this, and due to his past with Frieza, wanted to join in this trip. And so, the group made their way to Earth. In the meantime, the Z-Fighters were taking care of Frieza's soldiers, who were not overly strong at all, but their numbers made them really bothersome. Even Jakku had joined in to help out. Gohan and Piccolo blasted several enemies at once, with a back-to-back Masenko, while the other members used their signature moves to take down as many foes as possible, all while Frieza just sat there with a smug look on his face. Unlike the regular timeline you're used to, this Gohan had become quite a lot stronger due to his frequent visits to Beerus' planet. His ultimate form was pretty formidable, and he was able to take down Tagoma and Shizumi. Slowly, he left his spot and looked at the remaining men. Then, without warning, started to fire Ki Blast at all of them, killing them within seconds. They were your own men. He gritted his teeth in annoyance and stared him down before powering up again. Frieza smirked, uttering how there was no need for them, since they were all weaker than Shizumi. Frieza took his iconic stance and then powered up into his final form, rushing towards Gohan and punching him square in the jaw. Gohan was sent flying off, but wasn't too badly damaged. If anything, he was just taken aback from how strong he had become. The two battled for a minute, neither of them having much of an advantage, until there was a flash of gold from where the two were fighting up in the sky, and Gohan was sent plummeting down to Earth. Fortunately, Piccolo was there to catch him, though he was knocked out cold. Frieza landed, still in his usual form. The rest of the Z-Fighters stood in slight disbelief. What was that power they just felt? And how could they defeat Gohan in one strike? Many questions crossed their mind. Just as the ruthless Emperor started to approach the group, a beam of light appeared. They had finally arrived. Goku and Vegeta assessed the situation and came to a decision. Boys, I think you two can handle this. You know, if you work together, show us what all that training was for. Winking at the working together comment.
I can't believe we never thought of that! I bet we'll be unstoppable! Well, I was gonna suggest it, but I thought you needed more practice.
Goten pouted at Trunks before walking towards their enemy. Trunks joined him in unison as they powered up into Super Saiyan God.
Let's try working like this first. We should save the best to last after all.
The two of them began their assault on Frieza, dashing towards him and attacking him from opposite sides at the same time. The three of them fought for some time until Frieza grew impatient and irritated at their fast movements. Jumping back and retaking his signature stance, he smirked. A golden aura surrounded him, and the earth shook slightly, with waves around them becoming violent from the energy that was emitted. The dust eventually cleared, revealing Frieza, now adorned with a new golden form. Wasting no time, he blasted at the two of them with a barrage of Ki Blast. The tables had turned at an alarming rate, and it was clear that the boys were struggling to keep up. They were no match. This was becoming abundantly clear. Even with their amazing teamwork, they weren't enough. Somehow they managed to avoid the lethal blows for a while. Vegeta and Goku watched this transpire and decided to intervene by joining the battle themselves. Frieza looks irritated for a few seconds, then watches as the two of them transform into their newly achieved Super Saiyan Blue. You have unfinished business with me, right, Frieza? So let's settle this. Goku and Vegeta intervened, just for long enough for Goten and Trunks to catch their breath. They were disappointed in themselves. They thought they would have been able to defeat Frieza, but Whis appeared behind them, putting a hand on their shoulder, explaining that while their teamwork was excellent, that's not exactly what Goku meant. Goten and Trunks looked at each other, realizing what their last option was. While Goku and Vegeta continued their fight, they yelled at Frieza. The fight came to a stop, with the Emperor looking in confusion. The two of them threw their thumbs up, then backed down, then jumped back and stood in position. Frieza's expression changed to one of confusion as he watched what transpired next, with the two hybrids dropping out of their Super Saiyan God forms and aligning their energies together. With a small glance, the fusion dance began.
You, Shan, Ha!
Gotenks immediately powered up and transformed into Super Saiyan God. Vegeta, not really sure what was happening, jumped out of the line of fire.
Dun 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 dun! Get ready! You're about to witness the amazing power of the mighty Gotenks. Nighttime Missile Barrage! Victory Cannon! Galactic Donuts!
He went through all of his signature attacks one by one, not letting up and not allowing Frieza to have breathing room at all. After his assault, the young fighter began to create ghosts. In a few seconds, he had amassed a small army. Frieza lay there, panting harshly, severely damaged and out of options. He was finished. Gotenks was ready to defeat Frieza, charging up a big tree cannon. But Frieza wasn't about to let that happen, charging up all of his energy and blasting the Earth's core. Or that's what he thought was going to happen. What he didn't realize was that Gotenks saw him move slightly. He wouldn't have this happen, and used the Galactic Donut to lock him in place, surrounding him with ghosts. The big tree cannon continued, but this time the various ghosts joined in, blasting Frieza, and once the smoke cleared, there was no sign of him left. They collapsed onto the ground, breathing hard, but with small smiles on their faces from their victory. Goku approached them, and with his signature grin, told them that they did a fantastic job. Vegeta was a little annoyed that he had his chance of defeating Frieza taken away, but his son defeating his enemy was the next best thing. So, he as well felt nothing but pride towards his son. Goten and Trunks are excited for their next adventure, and this time, they both want to try out sword fighting. Gohan, having been inspired by Goten and Trunks, begins to train once more. In a short amount of time, he's able to gain complete control over his mystic form again, but he wants to go even further beyond. Piccolo encourages him, but will not stay behind. One day, Piccolo gets an idea, utilizing the Dragon Balls to unlock his latent power. After all, he hasn't been a rival to Goku nor Vegeta in a long time. Perhaps something similar to what Krillin and Gohan had themselves done on Namek would be helpful. First, he goes to Dende about it, but once he reveals that he cannot do it, he instead updates the Dragon Balls, so that Shenron can grant Piccolo his wish. Shenron appears from the Dragon Balls, telling Piccolo that not only is his wish granted, but something extra along the way too. Without any further wishes, Piccolo lets Shenron go, ready to begin his training in order to be as strong as Goku and Vegeta. Goten and Trunks are happy with how far they've come, but still want to keep getting stronger to keep up with Goku and Vegeta, as well as stay ahead of Gohan and Piccolo. Their fathers recommend the time chamber, and the two go inside and train for a couple days. They emerge looking slightly older, having aged 2 years while inside. Vegeta and Goku are impressed with their growth and invite them to the Universe 6 tournament to test just how far they've come. Goku also wants to include Piccolo and Gohan, so he comes up with a plan, encouraging the kids to fuse so everyone gets a chance to fight, and this way they can show their true potential. Eventually, the day arrives, with Vados introducing everyone to the test they must take before taking part in the tournament, with Gohan and Trunks getting the best scores. Goten does pretty well, which makes Chi-Chi happy. Goku nearly fails. Vados complains that she explicitly said only 5 contestants when she sees the lineup. Goku, however, explains that there is only 5, as Goten and Trunks fuse and fail, resulting into them fusing into Fat Gotenks. This doesn't discourage the kids, however, as this version of Gotenks takes on Botamo. Fat Gotenks wins and defuses after a fight, though it was honestly a close call, as Fat Gotenks continued to bounce off of Botamo until finally he was able to push him off, and thus the time runs out, just in time for their next match, fusing into Super Saiyan Gotenks, this time successfully, and battle against Frost. Gotenks thinks he's really cool. After all, he's somewhat of a superhero, right? Gotenks offers to show off some of his own techniques. Frost underestimates Gotenks, as he allows him to reluctantly show off his poses and Kamikaze Ghost. Gotenks, unlike Goku, never tells Frost to transform, so Gotenks actually beats him in the process of showing the attacks. Next up is Vegeta, who Gotenks finds extremely cool. He's a huge robot man. After admiring him and asking a lot of questions, the two begin a fight. Vegeta's a lot stronger than the others he faced, so he resorts to Super Saiyan 3. During the battle, they find out his weakness, insults. Despite the very exploitative weakness, Gotenks is unable to act fully, as his parents are watching, and he feels very self-conscious during the fight. And as the heat began to rise, even Super Saiyan God wasn't enough to cut it. They battled valiantly, but after a few minutes, they were knocked out of the ring, which also resulted in them splitting up. Afterwards, Piccolo stepped up to Vegeta, showing off his new transformation. Though Piccolo seemed to have an even harder time cursing out Vegeta, he did it, though reluctantly, just enough to break his guard and knock him out of the ring with his most powerful punch. Goku, Goten, Gohan, and Trunks were extremely impressed impressed by this new transformation. Vegeta asks Piccolo to join in the tournament instead of him when the fight against Kappa comes up, and thus the rest of the tournament goes on as usual. With Gohan never actually getting to fight, he was a little disappointed. He was excited to show off just how far he'd come. Unknown to him, he would get the chance to show it off soon. Zeno makes his appearance at the tournament. Beerus, Champa, and the rest of the deities bow and become nervous at his presence. Goku, being Goku, just walks up to him and greets him. Zeno is curious about him and finds his demeanor entertaining. Like the canon timeline, the two of them become friends. Zeno also takes a liking to Goten. Goku talks about how interesting the battle with all the universes would be, and Zeno takes note of this before leaving with his tenants. And thus, a few months pass. Through harsh training, Gohan was able to unlock Super Saiyan God after some strict training with Piccolo at Whis' planet. But he mentions that he doesn't feel too comfortable with this form, or any of the Super Saiyan transformations for that fact, but that he's able to settle for now. Goku and Vegeta continue to hone and master their Super Saiyan Blue forms. Goten and Trunks also continue training under their dads. Currently, they have been trying to acquire Super Saiyan Blue as well, but have a lot of issues. The only way they can achieve it for now is through Gotenks. Even after consulting with Whis, the two teenagers still cannot tap into the form. However, they're getting tired of fusing. They want to prove themselves as individuals, not just being one half of a pair. Their mishaps in the tournament reminded them both that they need to practice in a routine basis. It is for that reason why Goten and Trunks are at Capsule Corp when future Trunks' time machine appears out of nowhere and crashes down. Trunks goes on to attack Goku, but to Goku's own surprise, Goten and Trunks get in the way, both of them catching the fist, both of them stepping up and battling off future Trunks. Present Trunks believes that this guy must be an imposter. Definitely not good news. That is, until everything settles down a little bit and Goku explains just exactly who this kid is. But a rift between space and time cracks open, revealing Goku Black. Goten and Trunks argue on who's gonna battle him, but Gohan pushes them both out of the way, telling Black that it's his opportunity. Black is curious about his power. After all, the Gohan he killed once he gained Goku's body wasn't that strong. The two clash, and Black is on the ropes. Gohan was very impressive, and his Super Saiyan God was no joke. But soon enough, Black disappeared as he was sucked away, back into the future. Vegeta forbids Goten and Trunks from interfering and fighting him, since this isn't a tournament or something easy like Frieza. He puts their safety first, and thus, Goten and Trunks don't go into the future. Instead, it's the original team from the original story, Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks, but also Piccolo. Gohan stays behind to train Trunks and Goten as they feel very upset that they aren't able to help out. Gohan promised them that he'd get them ready. Future Trunks and Piccolo stay behind after an arduous battle against Zamasu and Black. The two of them are keeping up well enough, but there's something within Piccolo that he just can't tap into just yet, and Trunks' rage form can only last for so long. Thus, Goku and Vegeta go back in time to try to figure out ways to stop them. But once they do that, and they start discussing inside, Goten and Trunks secretly go to the time machine Bulma has. Gohan interrupts them and has an argument with Goten, but they finally decide that the three of them will go. Thus, Goten, Trunks, and Gohan disappear to the future. Once they hear the noise of the time machine, Bulma, Vegeta, and Goku run outside and realize that it's gone. Goku facepalms, and Vegeta yells at the sky. He should have known Trunks was this stupid. Their only way now to go to the future was with the Kais, so they paid them a visit. In the meantime, Goten, Trunks, and Gohan peered before a damaged Piccolo, all revealing themselves as superheroes. Future Trunks was being held by the throat, and present Trunks rushed in against Zamasu, slamming his fist directly against his face and sending him flying off and saving his future self. Goku Black mentions that he knows some of Goku's memories, and this messes with Goten's head, revealing to him that Goku himself didn't want to be revived after the Cell Arc. This hurts Goten, who had just assumed that his dad was dead and there was no fixing it. Instead, this revealed that Goku did in fact know that Goten was a thing, and he chose not to be revived. Goku Black took this opportunity to land a devastating blow on Goten. Gohan rushes in, his younger brother. He's meant to protect him, but he's failing. He can't do anything but watch now. His surroundings began to darken. All he could see was the bright light of Goku Black's energy piercing through Goten. He could hear his brother's screams. Not only was Goten his brother, he was his best friend. He had to do something. Gohan felt his heart sink as his energy swelled up, his eyes darkening, his aura expanding, his hair growing into a silver light. His glowing red eyes terrified Zamasu and Black. The aura expansion was such that it electrocuted Zamasu and pushed him off. Gohan used this chance to put 2 fingers up to his forehead, charging up a special beam cannon. Black barely got a chance to turn his head before watching the piercing light strike him head on and push him away from Goten. The kid coughed up some blood, but he was okay. Goten's head is resentful, filled with dark thoughts. He was hurt. He had so many questions for his father, but didn't know how to approach it. Black had messed with his head far too much, but there was nothing he could do now. Zamasu and Black were recovering, while Gohan rushed down to Goten and gave him a hand up. Goten stared blankly at Gohan's new state. This was incredible, something unique for Gohan. It was at that moment that he realized he had been following everyone's footsteps for so long. He had been looking up to everyone. His father, Gohan, but he didn't have something of his own. Even Gohan did now. But there was no time to think about this, as Black and Zamasu screamed out in anger. The Sun brothers turned back, getting in defensive position. As they do this, they hear something. The sound of time and space twisting and turning around them as Goku, Vegeta, Gowasu, and Shin appear. Goku smiles at Goten. Goten is happy to know that they're safe, but right now he can't look at his father in the eyes. He joins Goku, Vegeta, Future Trunks, Present Trunks, and Piccolo in the fight against Zamasu, attacking him with every attack and beam they can think of, to see if there's a limit to his regeneration. Goku Black can barely hold it together as he uses every bit of strength he has left to send Kamehamehas towards the heroes. Gohan saves them, but Zamasu and Goku Black use the mere seconds they have to fuse. Gohan tells them all to stand back as he wants to take care of this, rising up to face off against Black. Fuse Zamasu asks if the white hair is a reference to his very own, but Gohan has no time for jokes, immediately rushing in to beat down on Zamasu. It's going well at first, but no matter how strong Gohan is, he can't defeat Zamasu as long as he's immortal, though he does start to get all goopy and gross. Goku and Vegeta yelled at Gohan to switch out as they went on to fight Zamasu, while Kaioshin brought up an idea to Gohan. Perhaps fusion will do the trick. Goten and Trunks thought the same thing and they were ready to fuse, but Kaioshin shook his head, looking at Gohan and Future Trunks, and taking off his Potara. The Saiyans nodded at each other, and as Goten and Trunks fused into Gotenks, Gohan and Trunks fused into Gohanks. Goku and Vegeta stepped out of the way, admiring the work of the future generation. They were so powerful, and it seemed like they were already surpassing their fathers. In the last few seconds of the fight, Gotenks used the Boo Boo volleyball attack to turn Zamasu into a little ball, passing it on to Piccolo, who then passed it off to Goku. He passed it on to Vegeta, though Vegeta simply slapped it away, not wanting to participate in the silliness. But that was the chance that Gohanks needed, taking the sword from his back, infusing it with ki, and slashing through it. This freed Zamasu once again, but he was already being cut in half. But their plan wasn't over just yet. As he slowly started to spread through the world, Goku threw a bottle which he had brought from Master Roshi to Piccolo, who then utilized the Mafuba to trap Zamasu within it, defeating the menace once and for all. Thus, Zeno doesn't erase the universe in this timeline. Beast, Gohanks, and Gotenks successfully defeated merged Zamasu, utilizing the Namekian Dragon Balls to repair the damages done to Earth by both Goku Black and the androids. The old Z Fighters returned to life to repair the damages done to Earth by Goku Black. And so, the day is saved, and both Gohan and Trunks have a tearful goodbye. But Gohan tells him something. There are Super Dragon Balls out there, and if he wanted to bring back the Gohan he knew, then that would be his best option. He didn't think his story was over just yet. Goku overhears this and he thinks it's a wonderful idea, stepping in the way and telling Trunks that they'll help him out. Goten, Trunks, and Vegeta protest, but at the end of the day, they decide to help out Trunks. And thus, by going back in time, getting the Dragon Radar, and returning back to the future, they find all 7 Super Dragon Balls. And Trunks uses this to return the world back how it used to be before the android androids attacked, including bringing back the fallen heroes, Future Gohan and the rest. The old Z Fighters return to life, and Future Trunks has an emotional moment with Future Gohan. Dragon Ball Super Gohan meets Future Gohan and tells him about Videl and Pan. He's happy to hear that in at least one timeline he had a good future, and that maybe it's time for him to find one as well. Future Gohan meets Goten, and he tells him that he's very proud of him, and that he always wanted a little brother, looking over at Future Trunks. Future Bulma is reunited with Vegeta, and they embrace tightly. But then Future Vegeta also appears, and it becomes a little awkward. And soon enough, the heroes from their present return back to their home world. They wish Trunks could join them for the Tournament of Power. In fact, they wanted to ask him, but Whis was pretty adamant about him returning to his future. Not that Trunks seemed very eager to stay, especially now that he had been reunited with his friends and family. But their training wasn't over, as the Tournament of Power was just around the corner. Following the adventures in the future against Goku Black, Son Goten has grown stronger, as has Trunks. However, Trunks has noticed something change within his younger friend. He knew him better than anyone after all, but the kid had grown distant from his father, Son Goku. His older brother Gohan had proven himself and his amazing power once more, gaining huge praise from Goku. With his new beast form, Gohan trains even more at Beerus' planet, alongside Goku's help. But Goten and Trunks know that they have to keep up. They had failed once before against Black. They had a near-death experience. Now it was their chance to make sure that never happens again. It had been their first real challenge since Majin Buu. They had gotten too cocky. One night, Goten approached Trunks with a proposition. "We need to keep getting stronger, and I have an idea." "Huh? We already got so much going on with school and the Great Saiyaman X. What is it now? Remember that time Piccolo took us to fight Buu? We improved so much while in there. I think it's time to return. Ugh, that place gives me the creeps. We were nearly stuck in there forever. We were even stronger than we were back then. Don't worry, we've got this." Goten and Trunks approach Whis about their training, and Whis agrees to train with them for a bit, in exchange for some treats. So, Goten and Trunks load up a capsule full of their best food and head off into the chamber. They are excited to dig in too, but Whis slaps their hands away, saying that they will only get to eat when they've made progress. Until then, all this food is for him. Goten and Trunks' stomachs grumbled, but they smiled. They were excited for this next challenge. Their training is extremely difficult, but only because Whis can tell they really want to improve. In particular, Goten. But there is a problem. His heart and mind are clouded. Whis mentioned this to Goten, but he was a typical teenager, a little bit more jaded. Whis rolled his eyes, but tried to converse with them. Over time, Goten began to understand his power, and how hard Gohan and Goku had to train to get where they are. Whis retold tales from his father and brother, showing events from the Cell games, Frieza, and the Saiyans. Goten and Trunks laughed when they watched the Cell games. That was definitely not how it was told to them in school. Trunks picked up quickly in how many times his future self talked about Gohan. It seemed that in that timeline they had a master-student relationship, unlike in this one. As time went on, Goten progressed. Whis acknowledged Goten's peaceful and calm mind. He thinks that it might actually help him to reach something that he'd been training Goku and Vegeta to do for some time. But the conflict inside of him was preventing him from unleashing his full potential. Even if they made progress, clearly this was something he needed to solve with Goku. And this remained in Goten's thoughts. With all his previous experiences, he was feeling uncomfortable with following the same path as his father and brother. He had felt that he would be like a third fiddle, weaker than his father, less potential than his brother. This wasn't the way to go. He would need to pursue something else. And if he wanted to try and surpass them both, well... Finally, after some months inside, the kids finally stepped out of the chamber. Their bellies finally full, though Whis had only left behind the stuff he didn't enjoy. It was time to test their abilities, going to the others for a training match. Vegeta, Goku, Piccolo, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks have an all-out battle. Goku and Gohan seem equal at first, and Gohan can even keep up with his father's power as a Super Saiyan Blue, but it was getting more difficult, to the point where Gohan was against the ropes once Goku utilized Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. This forces Gohan to use Beast Mode. At the same time, Vegeta fights Ultimate Piccolo. It's funny to Piccolo and Goku, as Vegeta and Piccolo had never fought before, and they were both Goku's strongest rivals. Piccolo warns Vegeta not to slack off, or else he'll surpass them both. Goku was slowly starting to push Gohan back. The pure Saiyan was amping up his Kaioken to the highest limits, managing to strike Gohan with a fierce kick and send him flying away. Goku screamed with all his might, pushing himself against the half-breed. He knew his son was hiding even more power. He wanted to see it. He needed to see it. "Show me all you've got, Gohan!" Goku unleashed a relentless onslaught against his son, pushing him to the very limit. Even if this was breaking his body apart, Goku needed Gohan to not hold back any longer. Goku punched Gohan across the face one last time as his bones cracked under the pressure of the Kaioken. Gohan finally reacted, catching Goku's fists as his eyes flashed an even deeper red. The timid Saiyan screamed out, his aura expanding and electrocuting Goku's hand. Finally being pushed back, Goku had to admit it. This was very exciting. Intense white glow surrounded the area as both father and son went after each other, throwing a punch at the exact same time. But Gohan had a speed advantage that finally finished off his father, knocking him to the ground. Goku calmed down, his hair falling back into place. It hurt a lot, took a lot out of him, but he did it. This new power that Gohan reached was truly something else. Trunks and Goten also battled their parents, impressing them with their skills and abilities. The Kamehameha, the final burst cannon, had all improved massively. Goku mentions how proud he is of Gohan, with Goten close by. Goten gets a little bothered by this, but keeps in mind Whis' lesson, trying to remain calm. Goten rushed in at Vegeta, while Trunks charged at Goku as the battle continued. The clash was intense and powerful. Trunks was swift in his movements, while Goten was fierce in his attacks. But Vegeta was holding nothing back. It was clear that he was an expert at fighting. He barely let Goten make a move. But there was a moment where Goten actually landed a punch. Goten was excited, but that excitement turned into a terrified expression as Vegeta's face snapped back to face him and punched him in the stomach. Trunks was faring better, as Goku more or less instructed him. At the end of the day, they had all proven to evolve to their power. After the battle, Gohan, Goku, and Piccolo continued to talk about their training as they headed home. Goku turned asking if Goten was coming along, but Goten said that he had something to do first. As Trunks and Vegeta started to fly away along with everyone, Goten appeared before them both. Vegeta told Goten to move out of the way, but Goten opened his arms, saying that he had to say something. Trunks tilted his head, and Vegeta crossed his arms. Vegeta, sir, what you did back there, it was awesome. The way you fought, I feel as if I want to find a path that's different from my dad and my brother. And I thought, well... Come on then, spit it out. I'd like you to teach me, sir. What the... Huh? My dad, he's a great dad, but I always feel like I've played second fiddle to Gohan. For once, I'd like to be able to get strong my own way. You can say no if you want, but... I'll do it. What? Tomorrow, Capsule Corp. We will do a trial run. Goten struggled to contain his excitement and confusion, but he simply nodded and Trunks shrugged. Well, this was what they were looking for. The following day, Goten left his home at the foot of the river to arrive at Capsule Corp. Vegeta was already waiting for him outside, simply telling him that it's late. Goten was confused, the sun had barely come out yet. Goten asked where Trunks was, and Vegeta responded by saying that he left early as well. He had an epiphany late last night, similarly to Goten. He wanted his own path, whatever that means. Vegeta walked into the gravity chamber, where he would submit Goten to the most grueling training of his life. While Goten did have some experience with harsher gravity, it was nothing like this. Vegeta was relentless. He explained that Goten reminded him a lot of Kakarot when they first met, but Kakarot's biggest weakness was his naivete. Goten was surprised at the comparison. There was a reason he had his hair cut. But Goten was just seeing the comparison at face value. Vegeta saw beyond that. Vegeta thought it was weird that Goten wanted to train with him when he already had trained with Whis, but the determination he saw in Goten's eyes told him all he needed to know. There was something Vegeta could teach him that no one else could. At the end of the day, even though Vegeta's goal was to get stronger than anyone else, eventually he wants the kids to surpass him, Kakarot, and evolve past their flaws. While training in the chamber together, Goten tries his best to impress Vegeta. Goten has always been rambunctious, excited, and hungry for adventure. He flew around the area, showing off to Vegeta just how much he knew. He even fired a Gallic gun, something he'd learned from all his years spending time at Trunks' place. But be it as it might, Vegeta did not appreciate the Half Saiyan trying to build himself up by using his techniques. As soon as the Gallic gun was fired, Vegeta appeared behind Goten and caught his arms as he pulled them back. Goten couldn't believe the speed, as he was kneed in the stomach and thrown to the ground. Vegeta floated above him as Goten held his chest in pain.
Just because you know how to fire a Gallic gun or a Kamehameha doesn't mean you know how to hit someone with it. You kids waste too much power being flashy, trying to be cool. This is not what battles are about. I thought you'd begin to learn that after what happened in the future, but it looks like I'll have to beat it into you.
Goten felt a sweat drop fall from his forehead. Was this the right choice? Did he underestimate Vegeta? Vegeta questioned Goten on why he wanted Vegeta to teach him. What did he want? Goten, with determination, answered that he wants to get strong as his father. Vegeta scoffed. Battle power isn't everything. The Saiyan Prince proclaimed. He will learn that soon enough during their training. The training continued over the next few days, with Goten slowly learning and getting a little colder. He respected Vegeta and the martial arts craft. He recognized the important role he would have to play in the tournament, and he began to mimic Vegeta's sternness during battle, but there was still things he wasn't getting. Vegeta thought of something. Goten and Trunks saw Vegeta and Goku as infallible fighters, as the ultimate warriors. This was far from the truth. One day, beaten and defeated, Goten sat against the door of the chamber, as Vegeta walked up to him with a water bottle, handing it over to him. This was a strangely nice gesture from the prince, but Goten took it. Vegeta said by him,
"Your father and I have our own flaws when it comes to fighting. This is something Whis has been trying to help us overcome, to obtain a certain strength which belongs only to the gods."
Goten was about to ask about Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, but Vegeta told him explicitly this was not what it was about.
Super Saiyan Blue is incredible, but there's more. A power which belongs to none of us, an instinctive ability which stems from nature. Kakarot has been following that path, though my own path may be different, I fear. My point is, you two have a chance to correct our mistakes, evolve our power. Goten, you and Trunks can rise above Kakarot and I. The mistakes Kakarot makes, those are the ones I am trying to get you to avoid, while also steering you away from my own.
Goten looked at Vegeta. The prince held a stern face, looking into the endless abyss. Goten knew that for Vegeta to admit those things had to have taken a lot, though he would argue that there's nothing that shows pride more than admitting your own flaws. Before Goten could answer, Vegeta stood up and told him that it was time to continue. Soon enough, he would not only surpass Kakarot, but create an even better warrior. Goten couldn't see it, but Vegeta smirked at the thought. The tournament of power was around the corner. In the meantime, Trunks had approached a different person. No, not Goku, but rather Gohan. The idea was simple. He had met his future self and heard his stories, and he admired him to a degree. He knew future Gohan had trained that version of him, but this Gohan was very different. They would be teaching each other along the way, but Gohan had a lot of experience the others didn't, the use of rage and power as Half Saiyans. Gohan agreed to train him, though it would be difficult. And thus, some time passed as the Z-Fighters prepared themselves for the tournament of power. And thus, the day arrived, and Buu had fallen asleep. They struggled to find a replacement until Goku lands on bringing back Frieza. Trunks arrives alongside Gohan just in time, excited to show off his new power, stronger than ever before. But there's an issue. Where are Vegeta and Goten? If they can't find them, then they'll have to go with Tien and Roshi, but just as they explained this, something came crashing down like lightning, a purple aura surrounding them as leaves afloat and burned around. Goten had arrived by Vegeta's side, standing back to back. Vegeta crossed his arms, eyes closed. Goten's eyes looked at the floor. He is serious, determined. Even his aura feels different, cool and collected. Everyone around them gulped. Slowly, Goten's eyes wandered, meeting his father's. Goku nods at his son, excitedly saying that he's changed and clearly gotten stronger. Goten is happy to hear that, the validation he needed from his father. Still, Goten feels there is some kind of hurt within. The battles against Black had really affected him deeply. Vegeta knew this, as did his best friend, Trunks, and even Gohan saw it to some degree. Goku, in typical Goku fashion, was more or less clueless about these things, but as Goten nodded at his dad and smirked, proud of his power, Goku didn't notice his more collected attitude. Truly, he had changed. It was time for Universe 7 to enter the Tournament of Power. The tournament begins. Gohan's main strategy is to lay low and keep his energy until the very end, or at least he hopes so. Being the strongest and also the smartest, without being so pumped up for battle thanks to his half Saiyan blood, him, Piccolo, and Trunks remain together for a good portion of the battles. Trunks fights similarly to Gohan and Vegeta, a lot of powerful key attacks and random bursts of energy. Meanwhile, Vegeta and Goten remain together. Goten battled like Vegeta and Goku, but both kids battled in their own ways too, having learned and developed so much together over the past few years. Eventually, the two left their respective masters. Pushed against the wall by Ribrianne and the fireballs, Goten and Trunks nodded at each other, exploding their ki with Super Saiyan 2 and pushing them back. They high-fived, but they gained attention from someone else. Kale and Caulifla, the gang leader and her subordinate, stood back to back as they took on Goten and Trunks, and to their surprise, actually struggled. Goten and Trunks' Super Saiyan 2 was impressive, and the girls were catching on quickly, learning with each punch taken and thrown. Trunks fights Caulifla, while Goten battles Kale, each of them complementing the other's personality as well. The battle intensifies as Goten makes Kale angrier and angrier. She keeps it under control, but what really tips her over the edge was watching Caulifla smile during her fight against Trunks, advancing further beyond her without her. She exploded in rage. The amazing power made everyone else in the tournament turn around in amazement. Goten realized he had no choice but to go further beyond, transforming into Super Saiyan God. This godly form made Kale struggle, but her power seemed to have no end. Trunks even left Caulifla to fight alongside his friend. They were the perfect team, but the Berserker Saiyan got the better of Goten, and he was kicked away and nearly knocked out of the arena if it wasn't for Gohan saving him. Trunks is able to push Berserk Kale a little further away as Goten burst away from Gohan and back into action. They're ready to show the power they obtained after much training. Goten and Trunks take a deep breath, an intense blue aura expanding from their bodies as they show off their new forms. While Goten's hair stood up in a blue flare as Super Saiyan Blue, Trunks' aura expanded to include a golden aura, Super Saiyan Rage. Goku's eyes widen, their power incredible, perhaps even more refined than their own Super Saiyan Blue when they first got it. We then see a flashback to Goten training with Vegeta, getting punched in the stomach and beaten into Super Saiyan Blue. Trunks, on the other hand, meditated with Gohan, as Gohan told him to focus his power and rage, use it as a tool, and not let it control him. Trunks explained that he doesn't have much rage, but Gohan said that he used to feel the same way, until it was time to embrace it. His future self knew that too in the end. Slowly over time, Trunks managed to use that rage into this new Super Saiyan form, even mastering it beyond future Trunks. We come back to the present, where Trunks wipes some blood off his lip. With a giant smirk, this was it. They were doing it. They were going to become the strongest warriors in this generation for sure. Goten and Trunks stared down at Berserk Kale, instantly pushing forward in an ultimate combination. Goten kneed, Trunks hammer-fisted, blitzed behind and uppercutted her into the sky. The two of them stood back to back, firing a Kamehameha and a Masenko that twirled and hit Kale, exploding in various colors. By the time she fell back down to the ground, she was back in her base form, and the half-Saiyans fist-bumped. Jiren smirked at this display. As Gohan watched his brother battle this powerful Saiyan monster, he hears a voice from behind. Vegeta.
You know, Whis once said Kakarot and I could be the perfect warriors if we worked together.
Gohan cocked an eyebrow.
I believe Goten could reach those same heights.
Gohan couldn't believe his ears. Was it really Vegeta saying this? Of course, he could never admit this to Goku, but why did Vegeta believe it so? Gohan turned back to look at Goten. His movements, his martial arts, they were distinctively his father's, an evolution of the turtle style. But his focus, his precision, and use of ki attacks, they resembled Vegeta more. He could even see some of his and Piccolo's own influence in the way Goten moved. He was an incredible amalgamation of their strengths. He hoped he could overcome their flaws too. The tournament continues, with Goten and Trunks taking out some fighters such as the Yardrat, Bergamo, and more. Kale remains in the tournament protected by Caulifla and Kaba, with then helping her try to control herself if she ever breaks out of her berserk state again. And thus, the tournament goes on as normal, with the Genki-Dama unlocking Ultra Instinct sign. But as everyone else continues fighting, Caulifla tried to nurse Kale back to health. She was severely injured, though she told Caulifla she could still fight. Caulifla, thinking quickly, pulled something out of her pocket, a pair of Potara earrings. Hopefully, this would help her friend. She placed them both on, combining into an extremely powerful fusion, Kefla. Kefla announces herself in her boisterous manner, jumping in front of Goten and Trunks, who are both in the middle of messing with Casserole. They turn their heads as they hold him over the edge to torment him. As he begs them to let him go without even looking back, they indeed let go of his collar and he falls out of the arena. Goten and Trunks smirk. They wanted more now, huh? Well, it was their pleasure. Their aura expanded as they rushed to clash against Kefla, but the kids underestimated their opponent this time, as she slashed across the area with ki slices that pushed them away from each other. Goten and Trunks looked at one another with a sweat drop. They had to do this, didn't they? Fight fire with fire? They nodded, getting in place. Fusion Ha! Gotenks burst out of the blue and golden aura, landing in front of Kefla with a giant smile, his blue hair sparkling with golden electricity. This is very different from Super Saiyan 3. I guess we could call it Rageful Blue. His aura expanded, only for a golden aura to appear on top of it. Kefla responded by powering up into Super Saiyan 2. The two clashed fists, sending shockwaves across the entire arena. The two exchanged multiple different blasts as they battle, both seeming to enjoy it. Maybe Gotenks a little too much. Gotenks mentions that he admired her power. Her strength was really something else, but she was severely lacking in the technique department. She was so boring. Kefla, stunned, asked what he meant by that, and Gotenks told her that he was going to show her. Gotenks immediately kicked Kefla with all his might towards the air, then elevated his arms towards her. An army of kamikaze ghosts started to fly up towards Kefla, exploding one by one upon touch. Kefla, getting more and more angry, started to make a pair of spinning discs to block the kamikaze army. An unrelenting stream of red rays were striking quickly and eliminating the army, but Gotenks just smirked. He started jumping towards Kefla, using the leftover of his own ghosts as protection. Kefla immediately looked at him and was about to attack, but she was quickly trapped by a yellow keyring. This is the godly galactic donut! Before she could even process what was going on, she was sent crashing towards the arena's center pillar. Thanks to the force, she bounced between there and Gotenks' fist, who was attacking her once again. And this is the divine volleyball attack! After one last punch, Kefla was almost on the edge of the arena. She instantly recomposed herself and started running towards Gotenks, but she was getting nervous at the amount of energy she was feeling. This is a little something from our masters. Victory! Big Bang Kamehameha! Vegeta turned his head mid-fight against Toppo to smile at the sight. Gohan cheered on Gotenks, and Goku, well, those kids were truly an inspiration for a fighter. Goku burst into Super Saiyan Blue and whispered, "I'm proud of you, son," before rushing towards Jiren. The giant Big Bang Kamehameha crashed against Kefla, dragging her out of the arena alongside a handful of other fighters. The Grand Priest snapped his fingers to move Zeno out of the way. As the blast dissipated, Gotenks cracked his knuckles, asking who's next. But the fusion popped out of existence, having used a little bit too much power. But it didn't matter, that was so much fun. The battles continue, with Goku needing to recover from the battle against Jiren and giving Gohan Beast a chance at the bat. Jiren was impressed. No other member of Universe 7 had power like this. But it wouldn't be enough. Gohan's beast state is powerful, but the harsh drain on his body gives Jiren the advantage over him. At the same time, Orange Piccolo wrestled against the giant Anilaza, stomping over various foes. Vegeta and Frieza fought together, though reluctantly against Toppo, and Goku went over to the kids to thank them on a job well done, before he was interrupted by Hit, who wanted to face him once more. It was a glorious display of might, truly what Zeno wanted to see. As the tournament wound down and more fighters were knocked out, it seemed like Jiren was powering through everyone. Jiren rushed out towards the fighters. Even Vegeta and Goku were knocked to the side as he tried to take them all down. Goten and Trunks looked at him, as Goten was frozen in fear, but he heard his best friend yell his name, and he knew he had to do something. They fired 2 blasts at Jiren, who tanked it and kept coming towards them. They tried to jump over him, but Jiren grabbed them by the legs and slammed them onto the ground. It hurt so much, but something held on to Jiren. It was Gohan! He was holding back Jiren so the kids could get away, but they weren't just going to leave him. Just barely enough time had passed since the battle against Kefla to fuse once more. But they had to be careful. Their power would run out very quickly. They fused together, quickly rushing down at Jiren in a combo while Gohan held him. But Jiren simply launched himself back onto the ground, making Gohan let go and instantly pop back to smack Gotenks in the face. Jiren was joined by Toppo and Dispo, while Gotenks and Gohan were joined by Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo. The battle was intense, since even if Universe 7 has more members, Universe 11 was incredibly powerful and has abilities they just can't keep up with. Vegeta and Goku were locked in battle against Jiren and Dispo, accompanied by Gohan and Gotenks, leaving Piccolo to fight Toppo, but Toppo was smart. He knew what to do. Jiren and Dispo tricked all of Universe 7 into one specific area, standing in a circle, as they were surrounded not only by Universe 11, but other fighters as well. Gotenks' fusion was about to run out. He felt it, but he was about to fire one final volleyball blast. Goku yelled at them to watch out as Toppo used his destruction energy, his Hakai, on the ground, destroying it beneath them. Vegeta and Goku jumped up to the arena just in time, but Gotenks, Gohan, and Piccolo fell towards the abyss. At the last second, the fusion undid itself. Trunks kicked Goten up with all his might back onto the arena as he was eliminated. Piccolo also had a plan, yelling back at Gohan to get Toppo as he grabbed onto him with his stretchy limbs and launched him back up. Toppo didn't see this coming as Gohan's aura turned into a ball around him, just like when he was a kid, and he burst into him, pushing him all the way to the other side of the arena. No matter what, Toppo couldn't leave his grasp. Finally, Gohan dragged him back down and towards the abyss, eliminating him. Perhaps Trunks, Gohan's, and Piccolo's sacrifice was worth it after all. Jiren's eyes twitched. What the hell was that? So, that must be trust. That must be the key to Universe 7's strength. The fight continued, with Goten now having no choice but to face Dispo. He was a little bit less secure in himself now. Not only was his brother eliminated, but so was Trunks. This would be more difficult. At the same time, Vegeta and Goku battled Jiren. Dispo was way too fast. Even Goten's newfound power couldn't keep up, but there had to be a weakness, just like Gohan had found one for Toppo. He started to doubt himself. He started to be beaten down. On the other side, Vegeta was pinned down by Jiren, punched over and over again. Could this be it? This be the end? Goten kept on getting blitzed over and over again, but from the stands he could hear someone. He could hear Trunks, Gohan, Krillin, Piccolo. Everyone was cheering for him. Beyond that, he could hear his father grab onto Jiren to stop him. He yelled out not only Vegeta's name but Goten's too. He could do it. No, he had to do it. Goten's eyes opened up, his aura sparkling once more. There was a rhythm to Dispo. He could count on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, there! Goten slammed his head against Dispo's just in time, nearly breaking his nose. Goten punched Dispo just as Vegeta and Goku punched Jiren, finally grabbing Dispo by the tail and spinning him out of the arena. Goten chuckled. That was hard, but it was finally done. He turned to look at his master and father, but he watched as Vegeta was knocked out of the arena and in a last bit of energy, gave what he could to Goku. Goten couldn't believe it. Now he had a new mission. Win for Vegeta. Goku and Jiren continued the battle, but it was clear that Goku couldn't keep up with his new Ultra Instinct. He was getting beaten down severely. Goten jumped in to help, as did 17, who had survived a self-destruction attempt. Unbeknownst to them, Frieza was also hiding somewhere. Goku tells Goten that this is it. If he trusts him, then he has a plan. He needs to let go of everything and just follow his lead. Goten was nervous. This was a lot of pressure. Goku yelled at Goten that there is no choice now, that he knows how much he has grown. Goku said, "Listen, Goten, I promise you can do this. Trust me, just like I trust you. I'm proud of you, son. I just need a little bit more of your help." Goten saw the glow in his father's eyes. He meant this. This gave him the confidence needed. Jiren rapidly approached. The two of them burst into Super Saiyan, cupping their hands together as they rushed towards Jiren. Jiren was going to slam them away, but they separated and revealed 17 firing a number of blasts at Jiren. Goten and Goku spun on their heel behind Jiren as he was hurt by the blast from 17. He then felt the heat of the Kamehameha from the father and the son on his back. Jiren tried to spin and hold it, slowly turning to push it against the Saiyans, but 17 was relentless in the blasts, as was Frieza, who jumped in from the shadows and fired several death beams. Goku told Goten to use what Vegeta had taught him. Goku burst into Ultra Instinct for a split second. As Goten listened to his father, he felt a cold down his spine. His power was failing him. His strength gave up on him. Everything he had learned from Vegeta was leaving. He was getting weak on his knees, but he just couldn't give up. This is what he fought so hard for. He thought of Gohan, Chi-Chi, Piccolo, Trunks. He heard Vegeta call his name, telling him to fight on. Finally, he heard his father's voice. It was drowned out by the sound of a beam clash. Where was he? What was this? An empty void. He felt himself floating in it. Suddenly he remembered. He remembered everything. Everything he had been taught by his masters. All the people he saw just then had taught him how to fight, how to be himself, how to find the power to keep going despite all odds. His heart calm once more. He could hear his mother's voice singing to him as if he were a child again. He was Son Goten. And he couldn't give up yet. There's so much more out there for him to learn, and he was excited to do so, surpass all that came before him. A surge of light came crushing down towards him as his eyes cleared. He could see everything. His father beside him, his friends at the stands. Above all, Jiren behind the blast. Goten pushed himself up, lifting his arms up once more. His aura burst up, a silver flash around him. Everyone stood up to see what he had done. Goten's eyes were silver, his hair dark. Goten had done it. Vegeta couldn't help but let a small laugh out. Goten was halfway there. It took him even less time than Kakarot to figure it out. He was becoming the perfect warrior. Beerus set up at this. Vegeta smiled. It was only for a split second, but that was what he needed, as Jiren was blown away out of the arena. Finally, the Tournament of Power had been won by Universe 7. Or was it? As Frieza turned to fire a blast at Android 17, taking him out of the arena immediately. But as soon as he was going to do the same to Goku and Goten, they had already moved in front of him, with two key orbs staring at his face. Frieza's face dropped, and he put his hands up, saying that he was just kidding. Goku sighed and went back down to base, turning and shrugging at Beerus. But Goten wasn't the same as his father. He flipped and kicked Frieza out of the arena, causing Vegeta to cackle. Goten wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for the fact that he knew his master would have enjoyed it. In the end, Goten hugged his dad tightly. And so, the various universes returned, as Goku jumped out of the arena and allowed Goten to make the wish, returning all the other universes back. The Tournament of Power ended with that satisfying battle, and Goten now saw his father in a new light. Him and Trunks fist bumped once more, staring down at Kale and Caulifla, clearly wanting to battle someday. But first, returning back to Capsule Corp, where they sat and celebrated in victory. The two Saiyans had grown so much ever since the beginning of their training with Beerus and Whis, but it was the training with Vegeta and Gohan that really helped them grow. Now, they both felt that they had a clearer path. Trunks had grown beyond what came before. Future Trunks, Bulma, Vegeta, and Gohan. Combine the best parts out of all of them, and you get the ultimate warrior. Goten, on the other hand, had to seek other guidance, push himself beyond his family, never wanting to be in the shadow of either Gohan or Goku, but loving them all the same. As the Z-Fighters celebrate at a Capsule Corp, Goten and Trunks talk about their experiences and how much they've learned. Goten mentions to Trunks that they could both be even stronger than their dads. Trunks asks if he's sure. Goten nods and smiles. He knows so. But you won't get there if you stop training. We have to start right away. The kids jumped, startled by the voice. They turned to see their friends, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo. They were all smiling. Goten bows his head at his master, thankful for their teachings, as did Trunks, but Vegeta places a hand on both of their shoulders.
I know I told you to be calm and collected during fights, but we're not in a fight now, are we?
Goten's eyes lit up with excitement as Trunks chuckled. The Z-Fighters celebrated their victory, but as the night died out and everyone started to leave, Goten approached Vegeta. So, I guess I figure out my path, right? I'm just a bit behind my dad's Ultra.
You're young, kid. You aren't set in stone. Kakarot's and I's path are more rigid. You have all the time in the world to figure out what it is you have to do. Right now, you need your father's, but I suspect that whatever my path is, you will use it in unison with Kakarot's. Now go. Training proceeds first thing tomorrow.
Goten was about to complain, but he would be lying if he said he wasn't excited to see what was next. He waved Vegeta off as he blasted off into the sky, a trail of silver sparks behind him, but Vegeta cocked an eyebrow as he noticed a set of purple ones as well. Very curious. He turned back and grabbed Trunks in a chokehold as he walked inside. Trunks almost choked on his food while he was eating, as Vegeta told him that he isn't off the hook either. They can't let Kakarot's kid get too far ahead, right? Thus, the powerful Saiyan kids have had their own adventure, finding their own journey, knowing that in the future they themselves may have to teach the next generation to overcome their own mistakes and flaws. But until then, Goten and Trunks will continue to get stronger, continue to overcome challenges, but with a bright smile and a determined heart, they look forward to the challenges ahead. The end.